One day I came into school and I was wearing a shirt sort of a bit lower than this, maybe about here. I got pulled into the principal's office and she basically took the shayla off of her head and wrapped it around my neck.
Meet Ashley, who left Canada 17 years ago to live and teach around the world. From Vietnam to Abu Dhabi to Bangkok, she shares how living abroad completely changed her perspective on freedom, culture, safety, and what actually makes a life feel fulfilling.
I'm Tyler, showing what life abroad is really like straight from those living it around the world. Come along.
So the year we moved here was the same year that King Bhumibol passed away. And so that was massive. And that was our first taste of like Thai culture and Thai royalty and like all the pomp and circumstance. So it was pretty amazing. You know, everything went silent. Everything was shut. Walking street, red light district, dark for like the first time, like ever since like World War II or something crazy. And we were in a choir at the time, and the conductor said, "Oh, we're gonna do a big sing of the royal anthem at the royal palace for the king."
Wow!
It was like, you know, in front of all the mourners, and there was 1 million people there, and it was like a sea of black, and you could have heard a pin drop. Everybody was so quiet, and a lot of these people had like hitchhiked or walked from villages, so they had nothing with them. So a lot of these people are showing up with just black clothes and a picture of the king, or just like a 20 baht bill if that's all they had, and they just showed up, no food, no money, nothing. So they set up a community there of like hairdressers, cooks, showers, bathrooms, like everything was, anything you needed you could get there because people were camping out for like a week. So we showed up to sing, and it was just this incredible experience of like total silence.
Yeah.
We were singing the national anthem, and like, you know, we're newbies. We're obviously not the same skin tone. We're kind of like, you know, but so respectful, like so, it was just a really like a big wow moment. And I thought, my gosh, I'm never going to get to experience this again, ever. So I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I thought I really want to commemorate that moment. And I have a habit of getting a tattoo from everywhere I live. So I ended up getting number 9 as a tattoo to like, that was our, you know, from the frying pan into the fire of Bangkok, like, you know, everything had changed. So, and even through COVID, you know, and they had really bad protests during COVID. So we've been through all that, you know, and now there's like a war going on. So, but I mean, through and through, it's still a really great place to live, and we love it here, and the opportunities for anything are endless. So it's just a great place to be.
So was living abroad, was that always a part of the plan?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been abroad, I'm going to say 17 years. And I think my husband's been abroad for maybe even 19 years. And we don't know where we're going to end up, but we know we definitely don't want to go back to like, I'm from Canada, he's from the UK, and we definitely don't want to go back to either of those places. So yeah, we kind of move around from place to place, and we just sort of follow where the jobs are for teaching.
And was that always like from a young age? Like
that kind of started when I went to teachers college in Australia. So because there was very few opportunities there wasn't really a lot of opportunity to get into teachers college where I was, because it's just saturated. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do the overseas thing. I'm going to go to Australia, and they let me in. That was what really kickstarted the whole, like, oh, I could do this. I could be abroad. I could live and work and make money and live my life abroad.
Yeah.
So that's what started it. And so, yeah, I moved back home for like, I'm going to say 6 months. And then I started the plan straight away to go overseas.
Was it Australia in general, or was it just the idea of being away?
I think it was a little bit of both, because obviously, like, being 19 years old and you're living on your own for the first time in Australia with a ton of other students is a pretty free experience. So it was a lot of fun, but also just that feeling of like, there's a big world out there and I haven't seen any of it. And, you know, people do this. A lot of people do this. A lot more people than I think do it.
Yep.
And as a Canadian, we're sort of pegged in by that whole, it's too expensive to go anywhere, or I don't know the unknown. So I feel like Canadians really do tend to stay put. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to find out what's out there. So I did. I just went to Australia, and then once you're there, they start talking about all the other opportunities that are available to you.
Yeah.
So I went to China, went to New Zealand, went to Fiji. I was like, yeah, okay, let's do this. So my first teaching gig abroad was in Vietnam. So I worked at like a little kindergarten there, and that was only 10 months, but and that was a tough gig. Back when I worked in Vietnam, nobody spoke English. There was no smartphones. There's no way of translating or just Google mapping anything. So it was hardcore. Like we were, exchanging money in the back alleyways. But it was a lot of fun. And I think after that, I was like, right, where's next? Because I'm not going back home. So we got to find out what's next in this chapter. So just kept moving, really. Just kept getting really cool opportunities to go and work in these really bizarre places. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How did your family respond when you told them, I'm leaving?
I think they were like, kind of like mixed emotions, because they were obviously like, go and be free.
Yeah.
But also like, why do you want to go to these places that are like tough? Why do you want to go? Like, why couldn't you just go? I think my mom said to me once, like, why can't you just go to like Mexico so I can visit you once in a while?
Yeah.
I was like, no, I want to go like far, far away. She's like, why do you want to go so far away? Come here, you. That's just another human. Yeah. I wanted to see things that I didn't understand. So I think that's why I wanted to go to Vietnam first, because I didn't know anything about Vietnam. And, someone says to you, oh, we're running a Canadian kindergarten in the heart of Hanoi. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do that. Because then there's that comfort of, I can speak my own language. I'll be surrounded by other people who are like me, who are also in the same boat. And there's a company there that's going to help me like integrate. Yeah. So as soon as that kind of came into place, I was like, oh yeah, this is fun. We can do this anywhere. And then that was it. I only started looking for jobs overseas after that.
So you said once you looked for that first initial job opportunity, did you always have that curiosity, like when you were a kid?
Big time. Like, how far can I go? And like, what's the most remote place I could visit and get paid for it? Because sometimes these jobs are posted in like Burundi or Malawi or places that you're like, ooh, I don't know anything about this place. But you are like, a company that is there is responsible for you. So it's like that little bit of that comfort level of, I could go and explore, and I have time and space to do it. I don't have to rush it. I don't have to like be a tourist. So yeah, there's been a couple of jobs we've applied for. Like, I think one was in Azerbaijan, Kenya, like places where we would love to go and visit. So why not just live there? And sometimes people are like, you don't have to work every single place you want to visit, actually. And I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of easier that way. Just gives you that level of flexibility of time, Like,
So what place do you think is the most different compared to Canada?
Abu Dhabi was pretty different. Yeah, I'd have to say Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi was a real lesson in cultures. Like, we went there as representatives of the Abu Dhabi Education Council. So their mandate was they wanted to hire, let's say something crazy like 30,000 English-speaking teachers to come into their public school system, work alongside Muslim Arabic-speaking teachers, and like kind of share the teaching, like modeling. And it was a horrible experience. It was a horrible experiment by the company, for sure, because it created so much mistrust between teachers. It undervalued the teachers they already had. And a lot of the teachers like myself that were showing up had absolutely no idea how to conduct themselves. So they would give us like lessons on, okay, here's what you need to wear and here's what you can't talk about. But when you're in a situation like a school with all other women and they're all Muslim and they've all grown up and done everything there, they really don't appreciate you coming in and just kind of being like, hello, I'm here to teach you all. No. So it was hardcore. It was challenging. It was enlightening. It was super frustrating. But I learned so much. And I think that was the most different experience I've had, but also like the most valuable, because not only about myself as a teacher, but myself as like a woman. I learned so much about Islam, and just about the UAE in general, because it is a very, very different cultural experience than other Muslim countries. So yeah, it was a real ride.
Well, what do you think you learned the most?
Wow. So while I was living there, I went through a divorce. And so I was all of a sudden single, living on my own with a full-time job in this city where you can do literally anything you want because they really catered for expats. Like, you know, if you're into paragliding, okay, go. If you're into frisbee, go. Like anything was on offer. So it's wonderful. And I traveled more living there than I traveled in any other place because it was just so accessible. Met a lot of good people, got involved heavily in music, a lot of choral singing, a lot of performance. I met my current husband there.
Oh,
so yeah, definitely a really, really great experience. Yeah. But with that comes a lot of personal frustration and like professional frustration. But I was very lucky to work alongside some pretty strong women teachers who were like, we got this, don't worry. We know how to play this game. Like, one woman was in the army for years and years, and she's like, this is just like the army. This is just like the army. You don't get to choose anything. You got to follow all the rules. They're going to bark at you. They're going to try to break you down. That's all part of it. Just let it roll over you. I was like, yeah, that's good advice. And it helped. It helped me just get through, right?
Did it help you like going to the other countries you've been to?
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially as a teacher, there's always going to be other teachers that are going to try to, she doesn't know what she's doing, or, you know, that's not very good or something. Now, there's always people in this world that are trying to bring you down. So you just got to let that nonsense wash over you.
Yeah.
So it was really good advice and a really great experience working in Abu Dhabi. It made me tough, really tough.
Aside from language barrier, what has been the hardest part of living abroad?
Yeah, definitely the cultural respect. Like, so I'll give you an example. In Abu Dhabi, because I worked for the government, I worked for local Emirati schools. So I had to cover from neck to ankles and to wrists. Sometimes I could get away with a little of this. One day I came into school and I was wearing a shirt sort of a bit lower than this, maybe about here. I got pulled into the principal's office, and she basically took the shayla off of her head and wrapped it around my neck.
Wow.
And I was like, this is the most humiliating thing I've ever, like, just, she didn't even say anything. It was just an indicator of like, you are less than me and don't ever forget it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, oh, there's no fucking way. But also just being like, thank you, Madeira. Now I am prepared for work. Thank you so much for your help. Like, you just have to roll
Like
with
that,
it.
that military, like
Big
fall in the line,
time. And like stuff like that would just happen a lot. Like they would just look down on you without saying anything, or sometimes they would come like this, and you'd be like, "Whoa, I'm not a dog. Don't snap your fingers at me." So there was a lot of a class system. There was a lot of cultural misunderstandings, but like on the whole, it just really taught me to just smile, just grin and bear it. Like they're not doing it to make you want to leave the country. They're not doing it to like piss you off. They're just doing it because that's how it is there. And they really are coming from a place of maybe not love, but definitely like help.
Yeah.
So, and I think that was my principal's way of saying like, oh, if a parent saw that, I'm going to hear about it. So, you know, for me, I took it one way, but it might not have meant that way. It might have meant something else. And it's kind of the same here, like in a lot of Asian countries, like women will just come up to you and be like, oh, you got some great hairs. And you're like, what? But they're not trying to be mean. They're just like, oh, I'm just pointing it out so that you can take care of it later.
Yeah.
Like, we're friends, right? So there's a lot of things I've had to learn. And obviously just being a woman, like being alert, being safe, which was a really big issue in Egypt. So that was a real eye-opener. Like, there are places in this world where women are not safe, and women are not allowed to talk, and women are not allowed to walk alone, and women, you know, so that was quite educational for me as well.
So would you say all these locations, have they changed you as a person?
100%. So like when I go back to Canada now, there's a group of people who have traveled, and there's a group of people who haven't traveled. And I feel like the group of people who haven't traveled are still very narrow-minded and very easily swayed by media, easily swayed by the news. You know, maybe they're not able to form their own opinions of the wider world. And that's hard. Now that I've traveled and I've seen the world, and I know for a fact that certain things we hear and see on media are not true.
Yeah.
it's hard to come home and argue that point with family sometimes. So it can be frustrating. Yeah. I'm very much a changed person. I'm way more open-minded. I don't get bothered by other people's business. I don't care what you do or who you are or what you believe in, as long as it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously, when you live in a country where you make a lot more money than the population, you have to like assume this respectful sort of stance of, I want to make sure that I'm doing right by the people that have welcomed me into this country.
Yeah.
Whereas I think when I was younger, it was like, here I am, I'm taking over,
Yeah.
I've made it, I'm awesome. And now it's just like, I am awesome, but everyone else is awesome too.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
just take it down a notch. Yeah. And I think, you know, I was quite cocky in my younger years and just thinking like, you know, get really frustrated by situations. Like in Vietnam, I get really frustrated, like if I couldn't be understood. But now I've just, you know, just learned to like take things as they come, and it's not really that big of a deal, and people are not out to get you. And, you know, especially in a city like Bangkok where there's like what, 17 million people living here, and it's so crowded, it's so hot, everyone's tempers are frayed. You know, there's a guy on the BTS and he's got stinky armpits and he's got his arm up. Okay, you just got to roll with it, right? I chose to live here.
Yeah.
This is what comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is, you know. I'm not changing anything. So yeah, just kind of, I think being able to assimilate a little bit more has been really big for us.
So it's almost like you have to be open, but also have tunnel vision at the same time.
A little bit, like obviously not
in a blocking out.
in blocking out, but also
People.
like in a focused way.
Yeah,
Like
that's what I mean.
that's inconsequential.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me whatsoever. And like I think sometimes, especially in Thailand, when you talk about politics or you talk about royalty or anything like that, Thai people are really suave. They're like, you know, if you say like, oh, what do you think about the new prime minister? They're like, another one, you know, and it's just like they won't go any further.
Yeah.
So I've sort of adopted that too. Like, oh yeah, that
Yeah.
one. Oh, okay. So how about the sports?
Yeah.
They don't, you know, they don't want to talk about it. So you're like, great.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do what you want to do. It's funny that you mentioned like when we talk about like being a little bit more aware and assimilating a little bit more into the culture. When I was saying that out loud, it was reminding me of Egypt and how it was just so difficult to assimilate because of the color of my skin and because of the color of my hair. So in the end, I ended up just covering my hair everywhere I went because I didn't want people constantly staring at me or making, you know, noises at me. Yeah, and it was really, it got really hard. Like, I used to take a bus home from work, and it would drop us off at the corner, and we'd walk maybe a block to our house. And even then, I stopped doing that because the walk of a block from the bus to the house was so fraught with fear, and like I just wasn't sure about my safety. And we're talking like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's one of those things where, you know, I was friends with a really big group of girls, and we would all sit and talk about our shared experiences. Like, what's your worst experience with a man in Egypt? Oh, what's your worst experience? And it was awful. Like, it was so, I was like, I can't live here. I can't live in a place where I don't feel confident to walk down the road. Like, I'd go to the gym, and there was a women's section only, and the women were just using it as like a refuge. Like they would go in there and just have phone conversations and have a snack and just do their hair because they felt safe in there. And I was like, this is a gym, we're working out.
Yeah.
But because the men's section was so aggressive and so full of judgment, they were like, no, we can't work out there. So I would go and I would work out in the men's section, and you know, the owner would be like, oh, I don't see you over here very often. I'm like, dude, I'm in the women's section because you guys are just dickheads. Like, like calm down with the aggression and the testosterone. Like, it was like that with every man. They all just thought they had a right to something. They either had a right to make you feel uncomfortable, or they had a right to make rude noises at you, or they had a right to approach you, or it's just awful. Like, yeah, it got to the point where I wouldn't answer the door if I was alone, because I, you know, if I knew the person, of course I would, but if I didn't recognize the individual, it could have been somebody collecting money for a bill, but I still wouldn't open the door because I just thought, no, there's no respect for women here. He has everything at his disposal to do whatever he wants. So yeah, so when we moved to Thailand, I remember the first thing I did was wear a tank top and be like, I can feel the sun on my shoulders, you guys. I feel so free.
So what about your idea of happiness and success? Did that change?
100%. So the last 2 years, I was working at a really high pressure, high profile international school.
Mm-hmm.
And, with that comes a lot of rules and obligations that people like myself don't necessarily agree with. And I mean, I'm working with 2 and 3-year-olds. So 2 and 3-year-olds, I know how to work with them. They need a lot of space. They need a lot of sleeping. They need a lot of just comforting. And the school I was working at was, okay, well, we're going to do phonics and we're going to do math and we're going to do science and we're going to do a field trip and you have after school clubs. And I was like, whoa, 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 hang on. I'm stressed out. I can't even imagine how stressed out the kids are.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where I was like, I can't do this. This is crazy. Like, what are we doing to these poor kids?
Mm-hmm.
And, sitting down with my husband, we just had a conversation and he's like, I think this is it. This is the time for you to really consider taking some time off, figuring out your next step. And we've always wanted a dog. So I thought, this is the time to get the dog, right? I'm going to take some time off, get the dog, and sod work, Like, now I wake up, I'm happy. I do whatever I want. I take care of her. And I've got a few gigs lined up around town, like doing some music gigs and some storytelling gigs.
Nice.
And it's lovely. It's great. And now people are like, oh, you should come work at my school. You should come work at my school. I'm like, no, I'm good. And it's so freeing. And I don't think I would be able to do this in a lot of places, but Thailand, it's definitely doable. Yeah, and I don't know what the next step will be for me, but I don't think I'll go back to the classroom for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself, like I've been teaching for 17 years. So for me to step away and take time off was huge. Like It took a lot of conversations. It took a lot of reassurance. It took a lot of, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And in the end, I'm like, how could taking time off not be good? Not be good. And this is a huge life change for me. So yeah, I'm really grateful. And now I get to like sit here in a cafe on a Thursday morning with the birds talking to you rather than working with 3-year-olds and pushing them to do stuff they don't want to do. So yeah, it's been great. Huge life changes since we got here.
So, looking at your life as a journey, would you say that you're living it to the fullest?
Absolutely. I think you might be the first person that's asked me that, but yeah, absolutely. Because if I think about my week, I do everything I want. I get to spend time with her. I've got a supportive husband. We live in this incredible place. My family is all healthy, very supportive of my decision to live abroad. They get it. They've also been really supportive of like the way I've changed as a person. Like they're more aware of how I speak and like my reactions to things. And that's been wonderful. And the greatest thing about it is it's actually inspired some of my family to start traveling.
Really?
Which has been the peak of my, if I could, have one influence on anything, my parents packed up their shit and finally went on a plane to England. And I was like, yes.
Nice.
The fact they've been talking about it their whole lives. And it was me that finally kickstarted it. They're like, that's it, we're going. And I was like, yes.
Nice.
And it changed their lives too. They got to see the world. And my dad got to see, where his grandfather fought in World War I. And just these incredible things that they dreamt about and never got to do. And then they saw that I could do it. I was like, it's okay. Everybody can do it.
Yeah.
Just get on a plane and go. I'll be there. I'll help you. Okay. Yeah. So it happened and it's been great. And now I'm trying to convince my nephew to come out, like when he graduates high school, because, the Canadian school system's not great at the minute. So I was like, sod school and come stay with me. Come volunteer at the elephant camps. Come work in the shelters. Come, anything. The world's yours. You don't need to go to college. You don't need to, you need to learn. You'll learn here. And, I think more people need to be aware of that life isn't all like a step-by-step manual. There are places in this world where you could learn things about yourself that you might not even have thought. So, yeah, I'm living proof of it.
So if you had one world lesson that you've learned so far, what do you think that is?
I think just listen. Close your mouth and listen. Open your eyes, open your ears, close your mouth. Just soak it all in. Don't react too quickly to situations because it's easy. It is easy to get frustrated. It's easy to raise your voice. It's real easy to get your eyebrows up, but just take it all in. Just take a beat, take it in, and hopefully that will help you see it from another perspective.